Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Transforming 45. I'm your host, Lisa Boat. In this podcast, we dive deep into the transformative power of storytelling. I firmly believe that stories have the magical ability to heal, inspire, and connect us. That's why I'm here to bring you the incredible stories of women who have journeyed through life's ups and downs and emerged as their most authentic selves. We'll explore stories of resilience, reinvention, and the courage it takes to embrace change. It's a space where authenticity shines, where the messy and the beautiful moments of life come together to create something truly extraordinary. So, brilliant listeners, get ready for a roller coaster of emotions, a burst of inspiration, and a whole lot of love. Transforming 45 is not just a podcast, it's a movement, a celebration of incredible humans who light up the world. I'm so grateful you are here, and I can't wait to embark on this transformative journey with you. Let's dive in and start transforming together. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Transforming 45. This week, I am super thrilled to have Suzanne Glover. She is a speaker, author, and video mastery coach with a lifetime of experience and wisdom about how women are seen and not seen. So I know many of us who are listening to this in this phase of life are definitely in that space of feeling, what happened? When did I suddenly become invisible to the world that I have always lived in? So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Welcome to the show today, Suzanne.
I'm so excited. I'm just so excited when you say that. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
It's great.
I'm thinking, wow, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we really do. There are just so many layers. I say this quite often on the show, but the dream element of my life is getting to speak to incredible women who are doing brilliant things and shedding really important and valuable light on stories that we haven't heard or stories that have been like pushed to the side. So that is the great joy of the life that I live right now. And so I'm really interested to hear about your story. So let's start there. Suzanne, tell us, who are you and how did life introduce you to this version?
Okay. Well, I have a long history here, so I'll make it really brief. When I was back in
Oh,
the
go as long as you want.
well, girls, sit back. Well, guys, too, if you're a guy watching this and you want to know how your significant other is feeling, keep listening, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So who am I? I'm Suzanne, and I was raised in a small town. I had a work ethic of, I was thinking about it the other day, my dad taught me to work really hard, really hard. We owned our own business and I helped him in the business, and I just learned to work really hard. So that was back in the 70s. I worked in my parents' business, and in high school, what was it? It was junior high. I earned $1,500 that summer working. And I thought, that was a kid in junior high in the 70s. That was 73 or 4 or something. So my work ethic has always been work real hard. But you know what that also taught me was that I could make money. And I've always had this ability, like a golden touch of being able to make money until I hit my 40s. Okay. That's why I'm saying this to you now. So fast forward, I was looking like Cheryl Tiegs and Farrah Fawcett. I used to have long blonde hair that was like out to here. Hard to imagine now. Now I have this skunk streak. And so people said, you should be a model. You look like Cheryl Tiegs. So I went into the modeling field, soon got too old to model. And so I had to, in order to continue my career, learn to talk on camera, which is what the business people are feeling today. The whole world now is on camera. And so many people are doing it wrong. They're driving clients away. It's really painful to watch them. So that's still not yet. But I was, I got my first commercial. I've always been a marketer. I had my first business when I was 19. I figured out that I was really good at filling in as a paralegal. I would get into a desk, and about 30 minutes into the desk, I would be productive. So I had my own business since 19, which was 40. Wow. 65 minus 19. What is that? I don't know, but that's how long I've been in business. So long story made short, I marketed myself as an actor. I got my first job, froze in front of the camera, learned to get over it, went on to get a coach, learn how to do it right. Because as soon as I got that first commercial and I froze and I figured it out, I started thinking, oh, because that first commercial went on to be award winning. So that I started thinking, oh, I can do this. Like most people think today, oh, I can be on camera. I couldn't. I got an agent. I couldn't get jobs. Got a mentor. And then I got into Screen Actors Guild, got into the top percentage of earners, and had, a lot of success in the industry. But you know what? I figured out that the business world way long ago needed to do this. And so now what I do, what brought me to this place is I hit 40 something. My dad gave me a book when I was 40, gave me one of a menopause book. And I said, Dad, I'm 40 years old. I am in denial. I'm not going to be doing this. Just say no. In fact, ballerina, many years since I was 5. So I've danced for basically 60 years in ballet. And I said when I was in one school, all the girls, sorry if this is too graphic, all the girls were prior to having a period. They were
Yeah.
preteens. And there I was in
Yes.
dance class with them. Then I went to another school where all the women were crones and they were already past menopause and talking about menopause. And I just said, I'm just saying no. And I said, isn't there a ballet school out there? There's got to be a ballet school out there where someone has a period. Okay. I couldn't find it. So I said no, but that was a downfall because my businesses went to HELL. And luckily for me, I went into real estate investing and was able to have a passive income at the time when my body and my mind were falling apart and taking care of mom. I've been there. I almost didn't make it. I was bleeding on the floor. I found myself in a puddle of blood, had a hysterectomy. So now I'm here to help midlife women just not say no, but embrace it and figure it out and get through it, but not have their lives fall apart.
Thank you for sharing that. There's lots of layers for us to uncover through your story. And as I was listening to all of the different roles that you played, right? All of the different as an actor, I'm sure you can hear like where was it in your life where you were playing a role, and where was it in your life where you were actually showing up as yourself?
Oh, that took layers. You're talking layers. When I started acting, I did a lot of what people are doing now. Hi, I'm Suzanne. And the acting coach was, Suzanne, you don't need to do that. Oh, but I can't be me. And so it
Right.
took me a while. I was in the trenches in front of the camera for, oh my goodness, probably a good 10 years and just figuring it out, figuring out. Then when I started figuring out how to get their attention, how to be engaging, how to be myself, I'll tell you one story. I walked
Mm-hmm.
into an audition back in the 90s and there was videotapes on the desk. There were 5 of them and it said name of product, tape 5. And I thought, okay, this is like the 3rd day, 4th day of auditions. I don't have a chance. I got in there. They actually asked me to do something that I could not do. I didn't have any children at the time. I still don't, but I didn't have any children. And they asked me to pretend that my toddler was taking its first steps. Now I had a choice there. So this was my turning moment. This was the answer. There is a technique in the acting world that I did not know of at the time. It just came to me from divine guidance and it said, hey, why don't you try this? So I did something and I did the audition. I had 2 choices. I could either be, That's what people do. It's really what people do.
It's true.
Or you laugh, but when I started teaching, I thought, wow, people really go, oh, whatever. That was one choice. The other choice was to tap into something that I already had experience with. And I did that. Audition done. The lady at the camera, she turned to the camera, clicked it off, turned back to me, and she slowly said, "You are an amazing actress." I wasn't
Mhm.
acting. I was pulling on something that was already inside of me. And that's when my true authenticity came out. And I felt like saying, oh, ha, fooled you. And then I found out later that there's a whole technique based around what I did. I had no idea at the time. That was my turning point when I found out how to, because what I did actually has to change in each situation. And then I started experimenting with it and figuring out. And then I also was a salesperson, and I started um, applying my sales techniques to being in front of the camera and get attention, because they would watch those videotapes on fast forward. They would see hundreds of people. They'd play them on fast forward. Oh, stop. We want to see her. Just like people are scrolling today. I did that in the
Right.
90s, 80s and 90s. I had to catch attention just like people. So you see, there's a lot of overlap with what my experience
Mhm.
is with what needs to be done today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's an interesting component of a lot of women at this phase. I know it's definitely true for myself. What I'm doing now is the intersection of things that I did all throughout my life and didn't know how they were all going to come together
Yes.
at one time. Once you have because you have to have the experience, right? That is the beauty and the wisdom that I find in this phase of life. There's all the hard stuff, but the good stuff is that you have some history to be able to look back on. Like in my case, my degree is in applied health sciences. I was an educator for 20 years, but I did lots of coaching in between. I did advocacy work. And so all of that, I'm able to look back on the history of that and see how it all came together to form this space to do what I actually want to do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a life thesis. I feel like it's a life thesis right now. I've combined being an internet marketer, a video person, and a salesperson, and just the kind of person I am. It's really a life thesis at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. And I think for so many women who are coming into this phase and are feeling it's an interesting time to be unseen because there are avenues to be seen in so many ways. Right? So it's almost like there's this compounding factor of there are all of these ways to be seen and have our voices be heard. And that means that there also are so many ways for us to be silenced and
Yeah.
unseen,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, how do we show up? And I'm thinking about also people who are listening who maybe aren't in that public space, but showing up for them on camera it's their experience of showing up in their life, right? Because we're not just silenced and unseen when we're public facing and we have a platform and we have a space where we show up digitally, but the same pattern happens in real life. So, how do you support women through all of your wisdom and experience to be able to show up in their lives and be seen?
I have two things to say about that. One is when
Okay.
I did an anti-wrinkle pill in the newspaper, and this wasn't very long ago. I was a direct marketer selling my own supplement in the newspaper. It wasn't MLM, it was my own supplement. You know what I found out through the research was women over 50 feel invisible. They'll get bumped into, oh, I didn't see
Yes.
you. And one of the main fears, like the number one fear I found out for women at the time I found this out, which is probably still true, which was about 5 years ago. Number one fear, loss of attractiveness. More
Mm,
than getting sick, more than cancer, more than any of that stuff. Fear of losing attractiveness and fear of being alone, which go hand in hand
mhm.
if you think about it, because we're so whatever about how we look.
Yes.
And there's so many stigmas. I talk about that in my book, which I know we're going to tell. I have a free book, guys, so hold on. I'm going to tell you, this is so fun because nobody gets this. Reinvent your life and business as a midlife movie star, okay? And I'm going to tell you about that. But the reason I'm bringing that up right now is because, oh, darn, because we start feeling invisible. But you know what we need to do for ourselves is there's a stigma. This is what I was going to say. There's a stigma about not just, you're talking layers. Okay,
Mhm.
society have to be young. That's the first layer. Second layer is I have to show up. I can't be authentic. I'm not heard. You can't be seen. You can't be heard as children, right? All this stuff. Well, get down past that. And there is a stigma about camera. Here it is. Back in I think it was the 90s, I was in a commercial. I hadn't gotten the VHS tape yet. So I turned on my television one day and I watched it for the commercial. And I thought, well, it's going to play because it was a seasonal Christmas thing. You know what I learned that day? It was the us and them. I saw Friends on TV. I know that person. Oh, I know that person. Oh, I know that person. And all of a sudden I thought, oh, us and them as seen on TV. So here's the point. Women in particular have all these layers about showing up in person. Now they have to be as seen on TV and they can't be one of them on TV. It's not okay because of the stigma, particularly our age. We didn't grow up with a camera in our pocket or an iPhone in our crib. This is all new.
Right. Yeah. So it's a very different schema when you're
It
used to
is.
being the consumer rather than the creator.
Hey, so the second part of that is once you identify, oh, wow, it is something, it's not my fault that I'm feeling these things because it's so embedded. I'm a hypnotherapist. So it's so embedded in my subconscious that all these years, I can't be one of them on TV. All right. That's the first thing. But you know what I experienced? And you asked me how I help people. You know what I've experienced? I'm going to give you a story. I like to talk in stories. I had
We
a
like
gal.
stories here.
I love, and when I was learning radio, the guy said, you got to do a fact and a story because that engages people. But we want to hear stories. So I had a gal, her name was Sally. And you know what? She pretty much was a dental manager a dentist office manager, and she was in her 50s. She went to bed for 2 years when she hit menopause. 2 years
Mhm.
eating TV dinners. Her doctor said, you should be dead when he saw her labs. We worked together. And you know what happened? This is what happens. She's just an epitome, an example of what happens when you can overcome this video thing. It does a whole lot of things. What happened for her was, you guys are going to know this. Jack Benny had a routine where he'd violin, play a joke, do a joke.
Right. Yeah.
We did that for Sally, and I took her to an acting convention where she performed in front of hundreds of people and got second place in that competition. And what happened was she said, I feel like I can look people in the eye. I feel good about myself. You see, she became the celebrity of her life. She started feeling more love for herself because she
Yes.
conquered this really deep seated societal, emotional thing that we women are going through with this camera thing. Whether
Mhm.
in the pandemic, we were doing Christmas on Zoom. And
Right.
now people are doing, if you're in business, you got video's a new way of doing business. That's all there is to it. Here we are on
Mhm.
camera. Some people didn't even know Zoom before the pandemic. What's Zoom? I don't know what that is. Now
Yeah.
everyone's Zooming and everyone thinks they're good on camera. Well, now the sophistication of the market, people expect more. So now here's the trouble. Women can now start closing up because they already start feeling invisible. So how you can augment that is start becoming more visible the right way on video so that you get that inner love for yourself so that you don't care what other people are saying. You're doing it right. You're feeling good about yourself and you have more of a cocoon
Hmm.
around you from the, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is the key of the heart of this conversation, and it is showing up as, it's that line from The Holiday, like you are the starring character in your story. You're the starring character of your show. And so that is how you get to show up in the world. And one of the things I have noticed, and I was thinking about this when you were talking about the us and them, is when I asked that first question about who are you and how did life introduce you to this version, people often go to their roles, right? The roles that they play, the things that they have done, which
Really?
is interesting to me
Yeah.
in that that actually is how other people see you.
Mhm.
Those are the ways that other people conceive of who you are and what your role is in the world. But it's not actually who you are. So this work that you're talking about, I mean, getting comfortable on camera, we have to be comfortable in our own skin and in our own lives to be able to show up on camera in a way where you can feel that, because
Exactly.
that's what people bring with them, right? It's something, it's tangible that you can feel about that person.
And when I was in the industry early years, I would look at somebody who was in, because we would be in group auditions, there'd be several of us. And I would look at a person who's talking because we're all talking at different times. And I'd look at this person and I think, there's just something about that person. What is it? It took me years to figure out what was that person doing. I know what it is now. And it's about authenticity. And yet here's a trap that people fall into. One trap now is everyone says, "Hey, you got to flip on your phone and start talking," which is the wrong thing to do because everyone says, "Well, I got to be natural. I can't be this spokesperson thing." But here's the deal. You have to be natural in this unnatural environment. For example, I used to do headshots for my people in my studio, and I did it for a colleague, a friend, fellow actress. She did not want to wear makeup. I said, "You got to wear makeup." She said, "I don't want to wear makeup. It makes my skin look bad." First thing she said when she saw the picture, "Wow, my skin looks terrible." "That's because the camera makes your skin look terrible." Hello? She wouldn't listen to me. Right now,
Yeah.
I look like a clown in person, and I'm looking at how washed out I am. I need to adjust my color, but I look like a clown in person just to get some color on my face. I literally have dark makeup on,
Yeah.
and look how
I
pale
think
I
that's
am.
a really, pardon?
Look how pale I am, you know?
And I think that statement that you just made about being natural in an unnatural environment is really it clicked for me, where I was like, oh
Really?
yeah, this is really weird. Like I spend my days in a room talking to people all over the world who I haven't actually like met in humanness. The screen is the closest approximation. But because I spend so much time in it, I sometimes forget that this is not natural. And
Mhm.
what I am seeing is also not like when you said, oh, the woman noticed, like, oh, my skin looks terrible. We think that we have to be perfect in our natural state in this unnatural space. And that just doesn't make any sense
It
when you
doesn't.
put it that way. Like, right,
It
right.
doesn't. And people who are speakers, in particular stage speakers, they try to bring themselves to the camera. And it's the same thing when I used to teach theater actors to be on the camera. You're big in person. You have to do that fourth wall. I had Vinny, who was a stage speaker, and he was okay. He was okay in a group setting. He was okay. And I always create a safe environment. I always say, "Okay, so what do you guys think about Vinny? He did his spiel. Yeah, yeah, blah, blah. Okay." I gave him one tip. Now and he redid it. Now oh, wow. The feedback was, I didn't want him to stop. I didn't want him to stop. I felt connected to him. I wanted to listen to him. It's those things about learning how to be in this environment that the public doesn't understand yet. They are starting to. But the
Mhm.
but the layers for women, and particularly at midlife, you know what I hear when I'm talking to women? I talk to women in their 30s who are very beautiful, very vivacious. And they're saying, "Oh, I just looked at that younger girl in her 20s and I feel ugly compared to that when I'm on camera." So how are we supposed to feel when we're already feeling invisible in public? How are we supposed to feel good about ourselves on camera when our voices inside say, I'm looking at that 30-year-old or I'm looking at that 40-year-old and not measuring up?
Yeah. I was listening to Kelly Ripa's podcast yesterday because she was interviewing Demi Moore. And Demi Moore said when she turned 40, that Hollywood essentially said to her, "We don't know what to do with you."
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, it was really interesting to hear and also hear her perspective because she's one of the people that's been sort of on the leading edge of creating more space for women who are over 30
Mhm.
to show up and have space to tell story. And that is really what is important about owning your story and your space is that is what we are doing now. So women who are 40 and over, I talk about this a lot in the work that I do, but there's not a lot of story and narrative about what this phase of womanhood looks like. This midlife, menopause, perimenopausal, empty nest, this phase that is such, I describe it like all the cards that I set up to create this perfect structure for my life just got blown over because nothing of that structure exists in my life anymore. And there's
Exactly.
not a lot, yeah. And there's not a lot of story or narrative that we can look to
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, yeah, that's what happens now. So that's what we get to do, which is why it's so important for women to know that they have value, to know that their stories matter, and to know that they are not invisible, that our stories
Exactly.
deserve to be heard and to be leaders for those who are coming behind us, just like the women who have gone before us, like fought the battles to get us to where we are now.
But we're forging a new way now in the digital age. The whole world changed with the pandemic. The whole world changed.
Yes.
So now, okay, over 50, over 40, you're starting to feel, and it's not just the age thing. It's the physical symptoms that start showing up. I just didn't have the energy to feel good. And the confidence, the statistic about the confidence going down, I think it's like 85%, something in the high percentage of women lose a lot of, I don't know how much, most of their self-confidence as they get into this
Mm-hmm.
age. So how do you start? I want to give them a tip. Can I give people a tip on how to start fighting that?
I'm Please do.
Because I did this and I found ways to do something. So I want to give them a tip because, you know, if we have a voice that we're speaking out, that's one thing. If we're talking to ourselves in our head, that's another thing. But you know what? There's a intersection there. And the intersection is if you are thinking something strong enough for it to come out of your mouth, wow, that has got deep roots in your subconscious. What am I talking about? I was working in a law office, I don't know how many years ago, I don't know, 20 years ago. And a woman, I can't even say these words out, but she called herself stupid out loud.
Mm-hmm.
She was at the copy machine or something, and she called herself stupid. I mean, and not just once. It was like a parent scolding a child. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, you're
Right.
stupid, But she used the word I. And I thought, wow, that has got to be so ingrained in her subconscious that it's coming out her mouth. Because if you want to be law of attraction, if you want to be Christian based, whatever you believe, I'm a Christian based person. So I believe that you speak things into existence because that's how you manifest through faith. But you speak. And when you're speaking these things, wow, you've got to say things that are not negative. You've got to start,
Mm.
because if you think about your thought patterns in like a fan going in, let me see, let's say there are fans going in clockwise select direction. You've got to slow that fan down enough to get it to stop and then have it go the other way and start gaining momentum. How do you
Mhm.
do that? How do you do that? You start saying, stop the train where it is and say 5 good things about yourself. I'm so proud of myself because I got out of bed today. I'm so proud of myself that I washed my face on time. I'm so proud of myself that 5 things. I'm
Mhm.
successful because I feel good about I still do this. When I started doing this about, oh my goodness, 30 years ago, I was in such a low vibration of thought. As soon as I started doing this, I would do it before I went to bed, when I was laying there going to sleep, and when I would wake up in the morning, because that's when your subconscious, you probably know, that's when your
Mhm.
subconscious is really open to suggestion. So I would lay there and I just lay there while I go to sleep. What did I do right today? What did I do right today? I got out of bed. What am I proud of myself? What am I successful? What do I do right today is probably the strongest way to stop that fan going in the wrong direction. Because how many people say, well, I did that wrong. I did that wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really powerful suggestion because from my experience in listening to folks, the conversations we have with ourselves at the end of the day are what should I do better tomorrow? Right? What did I not get right today?
Mhm.
How can I be better tomorrow? And it is that reprogramming. And it's, when you were talking about, so sorry, there's 4 thoughts trying to come out of my mouth all at the same
Okay.
time. So I need to
Okay.
I just need to separate them out for a minute. But it's that we are bound in this idea that to be approachable, to be likable, we have to be self-deprecating. So we always say the negative things about ourselves, thinking that that is a way of drawing people to us, when that is completely not true. It is exactly the opposite, right?
Exactly.
Self-deprecation, sarcasm, it's so damaging to ourselves. And then we are programmed to, if we are going to say something good about ourselves, we have to couch it in something first to make it accessible or welcome to the person who is sitting across from us.
Almost
The
like you're
number of times
apologizing.
yes, exactly. Or brilliant women say, I don't want you to think I'm bragging, but, well,
Yes.
don't say that. Just be, because you get to own the amazingness that you are.
Absolutely. And when you just said attracting, you think people are attracted to you. I had a girlfriend who's recently divorced. And you know what she said? She said, am I going to be dating you now? I said, are you going to be dating now? She says, you know what? I'm not. Here's why. She has a friend who's been divorced for a while. And this is what the divorced lady said. When she wasn't working on herself, and she had these negative patterns, she attracted negative guys. When she started
Mhm.
owning herself and being more powerful, she attracted more powerful guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a long time because I've been married for a long time.
Well, me
However,
too.
I do
Yeah.
remember I had it, and it happened really quickly. I'd had a relationship that was really toxic, and I went into a place where I felt really small. I felt like I wasn't enough. And it took, a good amount of time to get to fall back in love with myself,
Yeah.
because I'd remembered a time when I really loved who I was and was like, this guy is really lucky to have me. And through the relationship, however, it changed, and I withdrew from that person. To It was another time in my life where I one day looked in the mirror and was like, I don't recognize that person that's looking back at me. This is a problem.
That's a problem.
And it took lots of time to get back to that space where I felt, you know what? I am good. I like myself. I don't need to have another person. I would like to, but I don't need it. And whoever that person is, they have to know that like they are getting a really good one. And that hopefully, ideally, we are lucky to be together because hopefully they feel the same way about themselves. And
Exactly.
once I got to that spot, it was almost immediate where that happened.
See?
The person who was my husband, we had been friends for a long time, so we'd already known each other, but it was almost like it was a switch that flipped, and we were able to recognize that in each other, that we were both coming to this relationship as full human beings who valued ourselves. And
Yep.
so then there was lots of space for me to be able to value him.
Yep. 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 And when you're in a relationship for a long time, like I basically married my high school sweetheart. So we've been together almost 50
Mhm.
years. So, but you still have to grow and they're holding, why I'm trying to say this is there's probably some women saying, yeah, well, I've been married to my high school sweetheart, man, Suzanne. How am I going to get him to change? You start changing. You see,
Mhm.
you start changing. And I got one story about that. I was teaching this was just a high school kid, right? She came to me for acting. But what happened was she started loving herself. And I asked her,
Yes.
so, you've been here a few months. You're going to be an actress. How's it going? What are we doing? And she kind of, I said, how do you feel? What's happening? She kind of didn't want to say. She was embarrassed, I guess. I don't know, 13 years old, whatever. And she said, finally, I got it out of her. She said, well, kind of looking down. Well, you make me feel pretty. I don't make you feel pretty. It's the fact that you have started loving yourself through the self-acceptance that I'm showing you, or the unconditional love that I'm showing you. And so
Mhm.
I'm showing my clients that, right? And they rebound, like they start loving themselves. If we can show ourselves that unconditional love and we start feeling better for ourselves, then the world around us will start respecting us in a different way because we're respecting and loving ourselves in a different way. So how do you do that? You start
Yeah.
saying, what did I do right? What did I do right? What am I proud of myself? Like, see, I'm going back to that. Can you tell I'm a coach? You got to do one exercise and you got to do it all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recognize the pattern. Yeah.
And I do. Okay. This is a free thing. I want to give this out to you guys, but I do talk about that in my book. Whether or not you're into business, this is about how to be a midlife movie star because you're the celebrity of your life. Okay. And these
Yes.
little things in here are, I'm not good enough. Flip that. I'm good enough. Oh, I don't feel good enough to
Mhm.
even say that I'm good enough. Okay. Well, then what did you do right? I got out of bed
Mhm.
today. Did you get dressed? I mean, Sally couldn't do anything for 2 years. Sometimes it's small
Yeah.
baby steps you have to do.
It is. And thank you for bringing it back to that point because so many of us, when we're experiencing perimenopause and menopause, still push ourselves
Oh God.
to live the life that we lived before.
Yes,
And it's
absolutely.
so, yeah, and it's so detrimental because while this shift and change is happening, as estrogen and progesterone are fluctuating and moving up and down, your body needs energy
Yeah,
to feed the changes that are happening to every
yeah,
system in your body.
yeah,
So it is a time to give yourself grace. It is a
yeah.
time to say, "Ooh, I was living way beyond my means and capacity anyway. So I'm going to take this as a gift." That's the way I try to position this, is like, receive this as a gift where you can say, I don't have to keep living beyond my energetic bounds because it's not going to get you to a good place.
It's not. It's not. And I was in denial, denial, denial. I kept pushing harder. And all it did was make me bleed more and irritate. And I mean, I was suicidal. I mean, I got bad. I had two
Yeah.
friends kill themselves during menopause. They committed suicide.
Mhm.
So it's not
Yeah.
something to be taken lightly. And my mission is to
No.
talk to women who are younger, who are still in that. I mean, yes, I'm not ignoring older women, but whether they're in the beginning of it or near the end of it, they're still needing support in that, wow, I need to recognize, or I'd like to recognize what I'm doing here so that I can navigate it better. Because it's about navigating it. Even today,
Yes.
I mean, okay, I'm 65. I got lots of energy, but I'm 65. I'm not the stupid 20-year-old that stays up until 2 o'clock in the morning burning myself out anymore. I could do it, but I'm not stupid. I'm smarter than that. It's wisdom. I know I'm going
It's
to pay for
wisdom.
that.
Yeah.
Wisdom,
No,
you
and when
know?
you really yeah, and when you really tune into the wisdom of your body, again, going back to that's the gift of this phase. When
Yeah.
you can tune into the wisdom of what your body is telling you, it sets you free in so many ways, which is one of the ways I'm guessing, just bringing it back to the work that you're doing, is how you are seen, right? People will see you when they see you in full freedom and love and in that deep wisdom of your body.
And I'm getting chills and I can't find it in my book, but there is a place in my book that I keep talking about this being a movement, a movement, a
Yeah.
movement of women being not just visible, but really owning their power. And this is not some liberation thing, this of the 60s where you're burning a bra, okay? This is about counteracting what has been put into us by society, by our roles as everything. And it's time now to create a movement of women who are really powerful, who have that feminine energy, who are just rocking it because the younger women I'm getting a lot of chills as I'm saying this, man. The younger women need to see us not as these invisible women who are hiding in a closet who hate themselves. The younger women need to
Yeah.
see us as role models who are powerful with their skunk stripe, which is going to go away pretty soon, but skunk stripe. I've had this for like 30 years, okay? So but they need to see us saying, hey, we've been there. We know. Listen to us. Don't we need to shake you and listen to us because
Yes.
this is a time of life that's going to bring good, bad, but it's going to mold you into this beautiful diamond that has something really to give back to life. And if you're too depressed to even say, wow, I can't imagine that, Suzanne, start telling yourself, what did I do right today? What did I,
Yeah.
don't what I could have done better. What did I do right today? What did I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
and the first time I did that, the first time I ever did that, I started feeling the lifting of, dare I say, sexual energy in me. It was weird. It was weird. It was like, I can
Mhm.
only identify as a sexual because it was excitement. It was like, wow, I feel
Yes.
really not aroused, but I feel this energy that was a good energy that I thought, wow, I'm just feeling like I'm on drugs right now. And all I did was start telling myself what I felt good about doing.
Hmm. And I think there is something that is arousing. There is something that is sexual in it because it is being grounded in the soft, like the strong softness of our divine feminine, which when we give ourselves the opportunity to, we can access and tap into now in ways that I know I can speak for myself. I can start to tap into it now in ways that I couldn't before, and
Absolutely.
it is part of how we can show leadership of
Yeah.
being there, of standing in our light and standing in our power and leading the way forward. Suzanne, thank you so
Oh,
much for this conversation.
can I
Oh
say
yeah,
one more thing? I'm sorry. And this is
please,
not about me.
please
And
do.
this is not about me, but I want to leave the women with this. I was doing a sales training for a team and they were young people who didn't know who they were. All I did during that time was give them unconditional love. And they were just eating it up, right? The manager
Yes.
after that call, he said, Suzanne, he told his supervisor, Suzanne is one powerful lady. You know why? Because I showed them love. So
Yes.
and it was from that place of authentic caring. So if we can authentically care about ourselves and show ourselves love, we're tapping into our power. That's what that's about.
Yes. Yes, it is. And that is the mic drop moment we are going to end on. All of Suzanne's links will be in the show notes, including the link
Oh, my
to
book.
your book.
Yes.
Yes, which you are so
Yes, please.
graciously sharing with us. Be a
Thank you.
star, be the star of your own I can't read
Midlife
it.
movie star.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
so much for this, Suzanne. It was so much fun.
This was fun. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey today. Your support means the world to me. If you resonated with our conversations and want to uplift the Transforming 45 community, here's what you can do. 1, subscribe and share. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value here, share it with your friends, family, and anyone seeking inspiration. 2, leave a review. On whatever platform you are listening on, your words can make a significant impact and help others find their way to these transformative stories. 3, connect. Join the conversation on my social media platforms. Follow me at lboat for updates, behind the scenes, and more heart-centered content. And 4, guest recommendations. If you know someone whose story could inspire someone else, reach out and let me know. I love connecting with diverse voices that carry the power to transform lives. Remember, it is your support that is the magic in my mission. Together, we can create a community of empowerment, growth, and healing. Thank you for being part of the Transforming 45 family. Until next time, keep shining your light and embracing your journey.